As the Democratic Party looks toward the 2028 presidential cycle, early polling consistently points to two names at the top of the prospective field: California Governor Gavin Newsom and former Vice President Kamala Harris. They came up through the exact same political apparatus in San Francisco for more than 2 decades. They have relied on an identical network of high-profile donors, staff members, and strategic consultants to fuel their rise in public. They exchange endorsements and speak warmly about their decades-long friendship. But behind the scenes, people close to both camps describe an atmosphere of intense suspicion. Their respective teams obsessively track each other's polling numbers, media mentions, and fundraising metrics. Curious. Despite occupying the exact same local and state political ecosystem for over 20 years, these two highly ambitious politicians have successfully maneuvered to never appear on the same ballot against one another. That streak of evasion is running out of road. When they are finally forced into a head-to-head contest, it will pit the party's elite donor class against itself, a dynamic that one of their own former shared advisors described as an electoral murder-suicide. The tension between their camps dates back to November 2003 in the San Francisco elections. Newsom ran for mayor while Harris sought the district attorney's office. On election night, Harris secured enough votes to declare an outright victory. Newsom, however, failed to reach the required threshold and was forced into a tense runoff election, waiting weeks for absentee ballots to confirm his win. Aides noted this early disparity bred immediate insecurity within Newsom's camp. Once in office, the friction became highly visible. They argued backstage over the district attorney's budget, which the mayor's office controlled. At joint press conferences, they bumped elbows over who got to command the microphone first, with Harris often starting events on her own if Newsom was running late. It reached the point where Kimberly Guilfoyle warned her then-husband, Gavin Newsom, about Harris's intentions. Guilfoyle cautioned him that Harris was neither a friend nor an ally, but a direct political threat to his future. Those early micro-battles over city funding and camera time cemented a permanent atmosphere of distrust between their political operations. 5 years later, at the 2008 Democratic National Convention, Time magazine placed them both on a Hot Shots to Watch panel. Harris privately complained about Newsom being included, and when she tried to speak about criminal justice reform, Newsom interrupted to remind the audience that she was his DA. In 2015, Senator Boxer retired, leaving one open seat for 2 rising stars. Rather than risk a brutal primary, Newsom retreated to run for governor. He called Harris. She ignored it, immediately launching her own Senate campaign. They successfully dodged each other until July 2024, when President Biden abruptly exited the presidential race. Harris frantically called party leaders to secure support. According to her account, Newsom ignored her call and texted back, quote, "Hiking, we'll call back," and never did. Newsom then, notably, skipped a speaking slot at the Democratic National Convention where she was nominated. For 2 decades, the California political machine was simply large enough to accommodate both of their egos, offering distinct parallel offices to keep them separated. That structural buffer vanished the moment they both set their sights on the national stage. Right now, that conflict is playing out as a national proxy war under the guise of promoting the party agenda. Both politicians have spent recent months embarking on competing high-profile book tours across the country. This chart compares the retail performance of their 2 recent publications. The data shows a sharp disparity. The former vice president's book sold over 385,000 copies by May, while the governor's memoir moved roughly 100,000 copies in a similar time frame. But when we add campaign finance data to this chart, an anomaly appears. To compensate for those lower retail numbers, Newsom's Political Action Committee spent $1.6 million buying and distributing his own book. Harris's PAC spent just $97,000 in the exact same month. These coordinated media blitzes have very little to do with literature. By scheduling appearances in crucial states like New York, Georgia, and South Carolina, they are actively locking down the same national donor bases and measuring their respective crowd sizes. They are using financial metrics, tracking book sales and campaign surrogates to trade blows, precisely because both camps are deeply anxious about engaging in a direct, face-to-face confrontation. Today, they live their daily lives at opposite ends of the California coast, with Harris anchored in Malibu and Newsom residing up north in Marin County. But structurally, they are finally out of alternate routes. Newsom is finishing his final term as governor, and Harris is newly out of federal office. For either of them, there is exactly one political step left to take. This leaves their shared network of California strategists and financiers in an incredibly difficult position. The people who have spent 20 years cashing checks from both politicians will soon have to make a definitive choice between them. The 2028 primary represents the final, unavoidable collapse of a 20-year standoff, a localized truce that the national stage can no longer sustain.